Hi, welcome back to my channel, According to Kat. If you are new here, please introduce yourself in the comments below. If you're returning, just say hi. And what are we going to be making today? Okay everyone, today we are making 4 super easy, affordable Christmas DIYs. I used Dollar Tree and other very budget-friendly products, so if you would like to learn how to make all 4 of these, make sure you stay tuned. If you'd like to know what supplies I've used, check out the description box below. And with all that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, DIY number 1, Santa belt blocks. So the first thing I did was I took these 3 blocks, but you can also use the blocks from the Dollar Tree or that wooden piece that you can cut up easily with a handsaw. And I'm taking some Waverly Chalk Paint in Lacquer, which is a really nice red. However, for this product, it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I wanted it a deeper, muddier red. So after I give it a really good coat of the red, I went back with my Waverly Antique Wax and I basically dry brushed it, but I dry brushed it pretty good. Usually when I dry brush, I don't have much on my paintbrush, but this time I did. I just wanted that really rustic look, which I think I got. So I just went right around all the sides. Even if I wasn't sure if it was going to be covered or not, I just went back and made sure I got everything just in case you saw it. All right, so now I'm taking one of these Dollar Tree floor mats for a car, and I'm going to use it as if it's leather. So I'm just cutting out a piece here, and this is going to be my belt. I am going to cut one long strip and use the back of it. Do you see those nubs? Those rows of grippers really made it easy for me to keep it straight, but still I wanted it even straighter, so I took my craft knife and my Dollar Tree square and I just went along just to make sure it was super straight. Now the side that's going to be the front, you want it all flat, so I'm pressing that against the table. So right now it's upside down and that's the front. So you want the front to be completely straight across and the back can be jaggedy. All right, so now I'm taking this belt. This belt was from the Dollar Zone, which was actually $1, but I know a lot of you don't have that in your area. What you could do is take the Dollar Tree baking pans, that fake metal, and well, I guess it's really metal, it's just tin, a very thin tin. You could cut that into a square and then cut out the center square and use that as your buckle. Right now I'm wrapping it around. It fits perfectly. These blocks I got from Hobby Lobby in a pack, like a wooden block set, and you got, I don't know, like 10 of them, all different sizes and shapes. So that's where I got these, and they were super affordable. Definitely less than the Dollar Tree blocks, but you can also get them from the Dollar Tree. So now I'm just taking some hot glue and just putting it right around just so that the belt stays in place. You don't need a lot of it, but at this point I'm gonna have to, that's the pan I was talking about, something like that. Okay, so I know that hot glue will not hold that buckle on, so I'm using my Gorilla Glue Super Glue Gel, and I'm just putting a little bit on the top and bottom of that. I did pull the leather belt, faux leather belt, back up because I wanted the buckle to adhere to the actual belt part. So that's why I pulled that up, just so that's what I was hot gluing it to. And now I'm going to go back and hot glue that part of the belt down. And just to make sure it stays, because hot glue comes up easily, we know that, I put a little bit of that super glue, Gorilla Glue gel right there on the faux leather. So now I take my Cricut Joy and I make a decal that says ho ho ho, cut those apart to put on each individual block. If you don't have a Cricut, you can use Dollar Tree stickers or paint markers. There's so many other options, so you could easily do that as well. And this is it. I hope you like it as much as I do. Whoa, oh, oh. Da, 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 oh, oh. Da, 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 oh, oh. Da, 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 da. Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But
This is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new. Cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of.
Next, we are moving on to DIY number 2, stuffed holiday sack. So the first thing I did was I took this burlap banner from Dollar Tree, and I'm just taking out one of those burlap pieces. And at first I was going to use the front of this Dollar Tree stencil set, which was about that one. It's the most wonderful time of the year, but it did not fit. So I decided to use this wreath that was on the other side. And these stencils are really great and totally reusable because they're really thick plastic. So I'm just taking my Craft Smart green paint, just green paint I got online in a huge set, really affordable, just to have some other colors on hand when my Waverly Chalk Paint runs out. So I am just going right around and stippling on that green paint. And just make sure you go straight up and down so you don't get underneath the stencil. So I just want to take a moment and tell you about this Christmas collaboration. I am joining my 2 very good friends, Kristen from Kristen K and Nicole from The Wheat's Nest. I love to watch Kristen make over all of the really cool things she finds at yard sales. She does Dollar Tree DIYs, and she is hilarious. Then there's Nicole, who I would say is the queen of Dollar Tree DIYs. She makes such great things, and they are both amazing, so make sure you check them out. And if you are new here, welcome to my channel, According to Kat. I love to make home decor pieces on a budget, so if you'd like to stick around, I would love if you would subscribe. Now let's move back on to the craft. So right now I'm just taking some red lacquer from Waverly Chalk Paint, and I am stippling on that bow, and that's it. Super easy, and I'm pulling this off and no bleed through. Love it. So I know that I want to attach this to my sack, so I'm going to put that aside while it's drying, and I'm going to use this Dollar Tree scarf as my sack. So I'm just folding it in half. I don't cut anything yet because I'm not quite sure how long I want it. So I'm just hot gluing right up the edges. I am just going to do little sections at a time so that my hot glue doesn't dry and I'm not missing any spots. And I just smooth it out with my hands as I go up. I just go to where I feel it's a good place to stop, and I can fold it over, and then I just flip this whole thing over and I do the same thing to the other side. I just go slow, and again, little sections at a time. Now I'm going to cut it where I think is a good place, and I love that there's stripes on it so that I can make a very nice straight cut. Fold it inside out and make sure you get your corners out as well. Now I'm going to look around the edges, and right here I found a little hole, put a dab of hot glue, and I think that was the only little hole I found, so it worked out pretty well. Now I'm going to take the top of it and fold it down 3 times. You could do 2 times, but I liked 3, and I'm cinching it just to see what it would look like, and I think it's a good size. I'm only tacking it on the front, back, and then the 2 sides, and that's just to hold it in place. Just a little dab of hot glue. And now I'm going to take that banner piece and I'm cutting off the bottom so it's in the shape of a square, and I'm pulling off any of those strings to make it look nice and frayed. Now I take this ribbon that was from burlapfabric.com. It's just like a burlap ribbon, and I'm going to put it right at the top to make it look, I don't know, like an edging up there. But you can see I put the brads in already. I don't know if I don't even think I realized that I had them still in, and I just hot glued right on top of it, but I don't know what I was doing. All right, so now I take 3 more brads, and I am going to just put it right through the burlap fabric and bend it back behind the burlap piece. And I go right across the top, and I think that just looks so cute. I don't know why, but I just love it. I use brads a couple times in this video. I love using brads when I craft. Now I'm taking some Dollar Tree Mod Podge in matte, and I'm going right around the edges, and just, you can see what I'm doing. I'm making sure it doesn't fray more than it already did because I like it frayed, but not too frayed. So there you go. I'll wait for that to dry. Now I'm taking a piece of scrap paper, putting it inside so that when I hot glue this, nothing goes through to the other side. And then you know how you can't open it. That won't be good. So I put a little bit right at the top and press that down, and then I'll go along each of the sides and just put a dab of hot glue so that it stays in place. I didn't want it that the like piece was completely glued down. I wanted it to look like, I don't know, that it was kind of tacked down in places. So I just kind of put some glue here and there. Now I'm stuffing it with whatever I have around. The leftover scarf I actually put in there. And this is some stuffing I had left over from a pillow I was no longer using. And I'm just making sure I get it all down in those corners. And I just keep going till it's nice and full. Now I'm taking this Dollar Tree rope and I'm going to tie that right around the top of the sack. I'm going to put a simple knot in it and tie up the ends, and that's it. I just loved how this looked. It was so simple, and yeah, I just love it. And you can see here I'm making my knot, and now I will make my end knot on this piece of rope that's hanging down, and then cutting off any excess. Okay, so at this point I thought I was going to be done, and then I'm like, no, it still needs something. So I went to get one of my see, I thought I was done. And then I went to get one of my Dollar Tree, what are these called? Ornament, like wooden ornament packs. And this says Mary, and there's like a little, like, deer head in it. And I am taking my Waverly Chalk Paint, no, not chalk paint, my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just going right over that deer head, and then I go across the back, and then I'm just taking a toilet paper. It wasn't toilet paper, I promise. It was a wipe. It was a wipe and just wiping off any excess. Now I'm taking my Waverly Chalk Paint in white and I'm giving the rest of this a good coat. So just the front, I keep the back stained and I'm going over the MERR. Then I realized it was way too stark white against the so this is a nightmare, this voiceover. So now I take my dry brush of the Waverly Antique Wax and I go over any of those areas that are really white and I make it look aged. And I love the way that looked. Now I'm taking a piece of twine from the Dollar Tree and taking off any of that fuzz. And I'm going to just loop this right around where the rope is. I make a knot at the bottom and then I will just hot glue that right to the end of my wooden ornament piece. And I just let it hang just like that. And then I knew it needed something else, so I took a Dollar Tree pick and I just cut off a piece of greenery and I'm just tucking it right under that rope. So I wanted to bring out the red that's in the bow on the wreath, so I take a piece of red berries that were on that pick from Dollar Tree and I just glue a little bit right there on the greenery. And this is it. I hope you like it as much as I do.
Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling.
Moving on to DIY number 3, sleigh bell strap. So the first thing I did was I took these decorative bells from the Dollar Tree. You get 9 in the pack, but I am only using 5 of them. And that's all I had of the gold ones. But I was really too shiny for me. So I am taking gold, but it is from Folk Art. It is their metallic gold, and I'm going around and splotching on some of that gold paint just to tone it down a bit. And you can see you can see the difference right here. Now, don't worry, they will get much darker. So I'm going in with my apple barrel burnt umber. and this will act as if it's rust. And I'm going to take my same Dollar Tree sponge and just sponge it right around, aiming toward like the edges of the bell where it's sticking out, but also going over the whole bell. And if you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel and it tells me what kind of videos you want more of. So you can see the difference there, and as it dries it will get even darker, but I keep layering up that burnt umber, and you can see where I am focusing a lot at that edging. Now I'm going back to that car mat, and this is going to be the leather strap. So again, I realize at this point it is too thick, and I'm going up using the back of it to help measure out, or not measure out, keep my line straight. I take my craft knife for any edges that I felt weren't straight enough, and I go run it right along, and it just peels right off super fast, super easy. So now I'm taking a little piece here, and I'm going to make that the part of the strap that folds over the wooden ring. Now you can use the Dollar Tree shower rings for this, and I do like using those, and you can make them look like wood. I'll leave a video below where I made one look like wood, but I couldn't find them, so I had this wooden ring, and that's what I'm going to use as the ring for the bell strap. So you can see how I'm going to lay that over. I didn't want to jeopardize any of that, the length of the strap, so that's why I made a separate piece, because I didn't want to fold over and then make my strap shorter. So you can see I'm kind of lining it up. I'm going to use my super glue gel again, my Gorilla Glue super glue gel again, just because I know that will hold in place for a long time. So at this point, I know I need a little shorter to wrap over and it doesn't get too bulky. And I am going to put the hot glue right here and pull it through, and then hot glue that front piece to the back piece. And make sure you hold it there a second so that it gives it a chance to dry and it just doesn't pull apart. And that's it for that part. Now, I wish I would have stained the ring before I did this, but I will show you I do stain it after, and I wanted it to look more aged. So now I'm going to take another small piece of that mat, and I'm going to make it come down a little bit further. And the reason being is I want to use those brads again to look like it's riveted. And I'm just going to match up those two lines that are already engraved in the mat. And you can see that right there in the top. And I'm going to use that same Gorilla Glue super glue and put that right on there. And this will allow me to have an area to put those brads. So I'm cutting off the back of them. And there's one, and then I will use the next one. And I'm going to use that same glue to make sure they stay down. Yeah, don't put the glue on the brad and then put it on, because I had glue all over my fingers. And you know I can't stand that. Oh, it drives me crazy. So learn from my mistakes, put the glue right there, put a dot of it right on the faux leather, and then put the brad right on top. Now I'm going to get my bells lined up to see how much space I'll need between each of the 5 bells. So I'm going to use my Dollar Tree square, and that's just going to help me with my spacing. That's all. I'm using the same Gorilla Glue super glue, and you can see I'm just holding it there until I feel that it adheres, and I'm using that as my spacer. Putting the next little pile of glue. I'm running out. I need to make sure I go and get more, especially for metal pieces. That this is really the only glue that works for me in a quick time period, other than, you know, the Fix All and the E6000, but those take a while. But when you're making videos, you want to be able to move along quickly. So this is a really good glue for that. I just wish it came in like a big bottle. And maybe it does. Maybe I just bought little bottles. I don't know. Okay, and this is my last one. and it fit perfectly. I'm just holding that in place. Now I'm going to notch the end of it so that, I don't know, so it doesn't look just squared off. And that's all I did there. And then I realized I did not like the raw wood. I don't know what made me think I would like the raw wood with this, but I left it raw. But it was okay because the antique wax wiped right off of that floor mat, like super easy. So I am going all around it, back, front, sides, and I even stuck my paintbrush as far in as I could to any of those areas, like where the belt meets up with it. And I go right over those brads as well to make those not look as shiny. And I'm wiping off any excess. And that's it. I hope you like this as much as I do.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night underneath the mistletoe. And I've gotten you a present that I put under the tree. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me. The snow is falling down and the storm is on its way, but as long as you're around, everything.
And we're on to the last DIY number 4, Silent Night Village sign. So the first thing I do is I take this Beware sign from the Dollar Tree, and I want to cover up the back, but I don't want to spend time, sanding it down, getting all the glitter off. But I like my pieces to look finished, so I'm taking some regular construction paper and I am measuring it out by tracing it around, cutting out those notches, and then I make a piece for the top as well because it wasn't long enough. And then all I'm going to do is take some spray adhesive and glue that down to the back. And this spray adhesive from Elmer's is super good. Like whatever, it stays, believe me. And if you get it on your fingers, it doesn't come off either. And then I just put the top portion on, and wherever those met up and had a little area there I needed to respray, I put it right there. Perfect. Now I have a nice clean surface here, so I'm taking my Waverly Chalk Paint and ink, which is a very jet black, and I'm going right over this sign. Now I didn't want it to look super opaque black. I didn't want that look. So my first thought was I was going to distress it, and that didn't work out. So I kind of went back over it with the black. Then I took my Dollar Tree sanding sponge and I thought I'm going to sand it. And I didn't like that look either. So now I'm just wiping it clean with a wipe. As I was wiping it clean with the wipe, I noticed that it was taking up some of the paint. And I loved the way it looked, so I just kept going with it. And then you can see I'm focusing on the edges, and I just loved how that looked. That's exactly what I was looking for, like really light black. That's what I wanted. So wherever those fake lines are going to be, that's where I'm running along with my pencil. And all I'm going to do is just get it ready to take this tiny little screwdriver, whatever you have that sharp you can use. I'm going to make grooves to make it look like they are individual pieces. And because of it being divoted in like that, it looks pretty realistic and I like the look of it. So I went along all of those lines I made. And I go back to the beginning and smooth that out a little bit. And then you can see I did all 3 lines and made 4 slats. So now I'm taking this piece of cardboard that I have, and I'm using my Dollar Tree square and a craft knife, and I am cutting out little houses. If you saw my last video where I used Dollar General like cottages that I got, a lot of you said you could not find them in the store and you were disappointed because you loved the sign so much. So I thought I'm going to make a sign similar that you could also just use cardboard to make those little cottage houses. Decorating with those cottage houses has been all the rage, and I'm on board because I love the way they look. So you can see I'm just lining them up to see how many I needed, and then I can gauge the size of the last house. Now I'm taking my paint marker and I am making windows and doors on all of those little cottages. But just so you know, I did go back and do it twice because the paint kind of soaks right into the cardboard and I wanted them to look really white opaque, so that's why I went back over them. So I'm going to just finish these houses up and then I'm going to start getting ready to write on my sign. I'm going to write Silent Night, and you can see I'm just making my lines to make sure it's straight. I will be using my paint marker and I will do the thin upstroke and thick downstroke. You've seen me do this before and it's super easy. And as you're watching me do this, you really don't need to hear my voiceover. So I thought I would play one of my favorite Christmas songs, Oh Holy Night, and you can listen to it as you watch me write on my sign.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of the dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and narrow pining, till he appeared and the Spirit felt its word. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices on night divine, the night when Christ was born. Oh, night, oh, holy night. Oh, night divine.
My goodness, I just love that song so much, and it makes me cry every time I hear it. And I'm sitting here editing this video and I am tearing up because it's just so beyond beautiful. And you can see what I'm doing right here. I'm just taking those 4 houses and hot gluing them onto a popsicle stick and then gluing that stick to the board. And I was going to leave it just like this, and thank goodness I glued it to that, because then I realized it is way too small down there. And you will see in a bit that I add another layer of houses in the back. So I'm taking this piece of twine. I'm showing you the difference here between the burned and unburned section. Oh, that's a huge difference. And I am burning all the fuzz off, and I'm just going to wrap it around the top of the sign. I will knot it right in the front and then cut off any excess of that twine. And now I'm going to take some more twine and these little snowflakes. They are from the Dollar Tree and they are like glittery white snowflakes, and then tied the twine from the snowflakes right to the twine that is on the top of the sign. I'll burn off any excess. And when I tied them on, I just made sure they were at varying lengths, just to give it some interest and that all of the snowflakes won't hit into each other. Just cut off any excess that's hanging from the top. And then I just finish off the last one. Now, I did get this idea from a piece I saw on Pinterest. It didn't have snowflakes, it had stars. It didn't have any words on it. And the houses at the bottom were painted on like black. So it was just an inspiration and I loved it, and I thought I can make something similar but not similar. So that's where I got this idea. Now I realized I wanted some height at the bottom, so I just made a couple extra houses and I'm tucking it right behind the houses that are there. So thank goodness I put those on a popsicle stick and they were sticking out a little bit, the front row. So the first one I glued on, I shouldn't have because I had to put the windows on, but the other two I didn't yet, so those will be easier. And I am just using my paint marker again. And I'll take these out and write what I need to on there or draw. And I went over them with 2 coats once again. And that is it. I absolutely love how this turned out. I hope you like this as much as I do.
Well, I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes. And I want it all, from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing, is there anything that you're missing? I will keep you warm as soon.
So here we are at the final reveal, my favorite part of the video because we get to recap everything we just made. So the first thing we made was the Ho 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 Santa belt piece. I love this so much. This was also Pinterest inspired, but it is so whimsical and fun. Next, moving on to the holiday sack with the Merry ornament. This was my husband's and daughter's favorite. It is so Christmassy and it is such a cute decor piece. Next, we moved on to the Santa sleigh bells on the faux leather strap. I always wanted something like this, and it's so rustic and farmhouse. Love that. Last but not least, we have the Silent Night sign with the little village at the bottom. And I love those cardboard cottages. So you tell me, which one is your favorite? I'm gonna go with the Santa sleigh bells. I always wanted something like this, and I was so excited to be able to make this out of Dollar Tree products, and I've never seen it done before, so that's why I'm picking this as my favorite, and it's just so rustic. So you tell me which one is yours. And don't forget to go check out my 2 friends, Kristen from Kristen K and Nicole from The Week's Nest. I will have their videos linked below. Thanks, guys. So that's it. That's the end of my video. I hope you liked everything you saw here today, and I hope it inspires you to make something of your own. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over at Catluna Designs, I would love if you did. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye! So that's it. That's the end of my video, and I hope you liked everything you saw today, and I hope, if you haven't subscribed, just do it. Ew. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over at Catluna Designs,